Meyer Jr., past president of the chamber, and I will be your MC for this afternoon's event. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for the chamber today, which include Wapakoneta, the Wapakoneta Daily News, Stolly Insurance, Winster Bank, G.A. Winster & Son, Weisenmayer Law Offices, United Way of Auglaize County, Telephone Service Company, Schlosser Funeral Home, and Finkelmeyer Insurance. I'd also like to thank Game Face Ohio for being here today and filming this event. Our first speaker today is Mayor Rodney Metz, who is a two-term mayor of Wapakoneta and is up for election for his third term this fall. So please help me give a Wapakoneta Chamber of Commerce warm welcome to Mayor Rodney Metz.
I'd like to start today by thanking the Wapakoneta Area Chamber of Commerce and all of today's sponsors for this opportunity to share with you all the good things that are happening in our city this past year. As I share with you all of our projects, challenges, and goals, I believe you will agree with me that the state of the city is strong. My 7th year as mayor has been both exciting and challenging. We have hired new personnel replacing retirees from 2013. And while I'm proud to say that the employees have served long enough to gain their retirement and their benefits from the city, it is difficult to replace their experience, knowledge, and skills. As I am sure you've all noticed, there are numerous projects currently being undertaken to improve our city. The South Interceptor Sewer Phase 1 is now complete, and Phase 2 is beginning. The second phase includes the South Interceptor Sewer installation. This phase of the project will take place from the wastewater plant, following the river, over to Harrison Street, through the back area of town, through the parking lot, and finishes at the lift station at Harrison and Water Street. This project should finish in the fall or early winter of this year. From the economic development perspective, the Wapakoneta Area Chamber of Commerce has been very busy in their attraction of new businesses, and they have also had many other significant projects taking place in our community. Mega City Fire opened in Wapakoneta this past year, and Concrete Protector completed their renovation project of the old Fifth Third building in downtown Wapakoneta. General Aluminum has utilized the revolving loan fund to expand their production and workforce. Holiday Inn Express will also be putting these funds to use. Along these lines, we've had 14 commercial permit applications filed, along with 318 building permits issued in Wapakoneta in 2014. The River Corridor development continues to move forward, which will improve the area behind town. We will improve the area with curbs, driving surface, designated parking spots, and with all the utilities being buried underground. This will also provide and promote the various activities that will take place behind town and help market Wapakoneta as a great place to do business. Our electric department has had a very productive year with the upgrades to the electric distribution. The upgrades will change the distribution system from 5 kV to 15 kV. This will allow for the increased capacity in our system to make the growth in all areas of the city possible over the next 20 years. The city has completed the upgrades at Grandview and Harrison Street substations. The electric department still has many transformers to change and field assorted equipment to replace. There's also the need to complete 2 15 kV loops within the distribution system. We've changed many streetlights to LED and will continue to upgrade the streetlights as they become available. The City Light Department installed a new three-phase feeder for Progress Drive, and also a solar field line has been installed for the project, completing the solar field installation, allowing residents to monitor the production of the solar field online. I'm sure you've all noticed the improvements made to Bell Fountain Street, Pearl Street, and Water Street traffic lights. That has allowed traffic to move much safer and more effectively throughout the intersection. The City Light Department maintains 103.37 miles of electric distribution and 8 substations. A community block grant was awarded to the city for Gibbs Street to replace handicap ramps, and we were also awarded Safe Routes to School program for sidewalks in the amount of $160,000. These are a 100% grant program. 2014 marks the completion of the Downtown Enhancement Project that has been a collaboration of the Downtown Partnership and the Engineering Department. This project has enhanced our growing downtown area with a fresh coat of asphalt, painted and stamped crosswalks with new banners, flowering baskets, and a message board. The total cost of the project was $150,000. The Water Department continues to take care of the water park, the water treatment facility, distribution, and they process all of the water tap requests, along with repair of water line breaks and leaks. There was 22 repairs made to 3/4 through 2-inch house services and 13 main water line repairs. In addition, Public Works installed restrooms at Harmon Park adjacent to the area of the gazebo. This was made possible through a NatureWorks grant in the amount of $12,397, applied for by engineering. Work was performed by Public Works personnel to complete the structure work. Cook's Plumbing and Heating done the plumbing work, and I was very happy to be able to volunteer my time to do all of the electric work that needed to be done in this project. The water park completed a great year with Gail Walter, City Auditor, reporting a $3,000 profit last year. Our police department has continued to be very strong. Staffing has been brought back to the normal staffing levels, and we have had fewer calls in both vandalism and vehicle theft. The office manager, income tax administrator, Diane Blackburn, has had a very busy year. The city website is still up and running and accessible to all the utility bills, and allows corporate offices and citizens who are vacationing out of state to view their current statement before they actually receive it by the post office. The website allows the tax department to post income tax forms, tax information. This is a very useful site for taxpayers and tax preparers. The income tax collected was $2,460,417.12 in revenue, and this was an increase of $146,118.98 over 2013. One of the greatest success stories last year was the improvements made to Rodney Park, located at the corner of Defiance Street and Hamilton Road. Many compliments have been extended on the beauty of the flowers and the improvements to the project and the park area over the previous year. Many thanks to Lois Marker and Jim Culver on their numerous volunteer dedicated hours to beautifying this park. Wapakoneta's sister cities celebrated 20-year anniversary of the partnership with Langley, Germany in October 2014 by hosting an adult allegation of the residents. Numerous activities was held and the visit was deemed a success. All parties are looking forward to the next 20 years of this viable partnership. it is probably not a popular issue to discuss, but the time is coming when the city council and administration will need to address funding of the general fund. The city's income tax rate of 1% is one of the lowest in the municipalities in the state, and income tax receipts are used to finance general fund of the city. With the near elimination of the state and local government funds, our city has done an exceptional job of balancing a budget and leveraging grants to fund important services such as police, fire, EMS, street reconstruction, legal services, our tree commission, planning commission, and zoning board. We have done an admirable job of getting by with less, but this issue will need to be addressed in the future. It has been an honor to serve the city of Wapakoneta as your mayor for the last 7 years. We have overcome our share of difficulties, and we have weathered some tough times, but by working together and staying true to our best traditions, we have become a stronger, more vibrant community. The state of the city is strong, but I firmly believe that the best is yet to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor Metz. If anyone has any questions, the mayor can take questions at this time for a moment.
Yes, I was hoping to get an update on the West Auglaize Street project.
West Auglaize Street is going very well. The street work and the water line replacement, it is a total reconstruction. I mean, it's a major rehabilitation project. It is on schedule and is scheduled for majority completion late fall, early winter. It's possible that the final coat of asphalt may not be installed this year, depending upon the weather and how fast it turns.
You mentioned the city takes in a little over $2 million a year in income tax. How much additional income would the city receive if the credit for taxes paid to other municipalities was done away with, which a lot of cities have done?
It's just about $1 million is what we
Seems to me there's your answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else?
Again, thank you, Rodney. Next up, I would like to introduce my friend Doug Spencer, Auglaize County Commissioner. He will have to explain to you how it is that he has the privilege of being the speaker for the county. I've never quite understood what a commission is, and it's kind of a secretive body of gentlemen, and they kind of have their own rules. So Doug will explain that to you when he comes up here. Please help me welcome Doug Spencer.
Thank you, everybody. It's good to be here to talk about Auglaize County and the state of Auglaize County. And yeah, that's a good lead-in, Tom, as to why am I the fortunate soul to get to address the audience here. And that's because this year I am the president of the commission. Nothing more than it is on a rotational basis. It wasn't because I was the best candidate for the job, is because it was my turn. And so next year, I believe it's Don's turn if all goes as planned. So, want to talk about the state of the county, and I typically, when I do this, like to do a PowerPoint presentation, and I always do it black label style, a white background with black text, and Erica came on board and she said we have to spruce this up a little bit, and so you're going to see things with Erica's touch, and I greatly appreciate what she's done here. So if I can get this to work, one of the key things I am going to always emphasize is, I don't think you know what, I got it now. There's a power button. Never afraid to show how unintelligent I am at times. All right, so one of the things I wanted to show was we really like to talk about that right there. The motto that we, I'm not even sure where it came from, but it speaks volumes to our storied past and where we're heading in Auglaize County, great past, greater future. And I think the things that I'm going to show to you here throughout the next 5-10 minutes will definitely illustrate great past, greater future. The General Revenue Fund. Basically, the best way to think of the General Revenue Fund is every county elected official minus the county engineer, Doug Reinhardt. His funds come from motor vehicle gas tax, so permissive license plate fees, and when you fill up at the pump. All of the other elected officials have their funding source come from the General Revenue Fund. And as you see, and it may be a little small there, but revenue for 2014 was estimated to be $13 million. Lots of, if you look at our organizational chart, which you can find on our website, it's an interesting and unique organizational chart because it all goes this way. It's lateral instead of the vertical chart that you would typically see. The auditor's responsibility is coming up with what the estimated resources are going to be, along with the budget commission of the treasurer. The prosecutor also is on that budget commission. And things are getting a little easier for her to predict as back when we were involved with the economic downturn. But you see that she estimated $13 million, and the actual revenue that came in was $14 million, and we expended $13.5. So good recipe right there. We typically, what I always like to refer to it as is what are our true days cash. I look at the true days cash expenditures. What's our trend on expenditures? Do we have 60 days, we'd love to get to 90 days, but 60 days is perfect, of true days cash if for some reason all revenue sources stopped coming into Auglaize County. And so we've got 2.1 million of carryover, which is going to get us pretty close to that 60-day true days cash. Of course. And you can see from the bar graph visually, we did run into a little bit of trouble in 2008 where what we actually expended was more than what we actually had taken in. You'll see a graph later on which will explain a lot of that. So the General Revenue Fund is doing quite well, and we're very ecstatic about that because in order to provide the countywide services that our county residents expect to receive and that we expect to provide, we've got to have the bar graph showing what it is showing. Our revenue sources. Overwhelmingly, our revenue source that we desperately have to have, which is a little foreshadowing for some things to come later on in some slides, is the sales tax. Almost 60% of our revenue source comes from sales tax. So we all need you to continue spending. We need more people from outside coming in and spending. I've used this, and I say it so much, you're probably tired of hearing me saying it, but we had an economic developer by the name of, his first name, Morrison, come in, Ed Morrison, and he summed up economic development to me so succinctly that it's three things. It's increasing the volume of good money outside the county money coming in. And with some of the developments of retail and businesses, we've been able to see that. It's decreasing the volume of bad money, which is Auglaize County residents taking their money and possibly going to Mercer County or elsewhere to buy something that they could have purchased, with all things being equal, here in Auglaize County. And it's increasing the velocity of neutral money, money that is always going to be here, but maybe we can get it spent. Maybe people can spend more frequently, more often. That's what he was suggesting as the definition of economic development. We rely upon that very heavily with sales tax. 60%. Property tax, we collect 2.5 of the 10 mills of inside non-voted property tax. So 10 mills, which is distributed to all the political subdivisions, the county gets 2.5 of those mills. Something decided long before I was walking the earth. Local government funds, that pie, as Rodney just mentioned earlier, keeps shrinking. Interest income, I mentioned 2008, one of the reasons that we had of the expenditures exceeding the revenue that particular year. We'll go to that particular reason, interest income, I'll get to that later. And then something new, casino revenue. It's, for counties, has been nice. It was voted on in the initiative of allowing the casinos to come into Toledo, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland, that a portion of the profits, proceeds would go back to counties. And so we do receive a portion of that. Conveyance fees, real estate transfers, $3 per thousand come to the county as well, and then other. And a lot of those are associated with court-related fees. The bread and butter. 2008, even though at the end things started tailing off, was kind of our banner year, then the downturn. And you see 2009, we followed up a banner year with an 11% decrease. Gradually started getting our way back 2011, albeit $60,000. We eclipsed that 2008 year. But you see, we increased by 7.4%. Ironically, the next year again, 7.4%. Starting to plateau or get a little more static as we see in 2014 at 1.8. And year to date, we are static with where we are in 2014. Hopefully, we can continue to see those increases, but if not, we'll be okay. So again, the sales tax is the bread and the butter. Property tax, I mentioned the 2.5 mils of inside millage. From 2008 to 2014, we realized about $255,000 of gain as property valuations increase. As Keith will tell you, the House Bill 920 effect, as property valuations increase, millage decrease, doesn't apply to inside millage. So inside millage, you will see as valuations increase, you will see the vote rise with the collection of the revenue there. So it's 15% of our total revenue. With CAUV adjustments that occurred, we are going to realize $200,000 plus because of some CAUV adjustments that were made. So that number next year, when Don gives the PowerPoint presentation, he will talk about that increase there. Local government funds, working from the bottom up, 2008 to 2014, that graph shows the picture, tells the story. 2008, we were at $882,000 of local government funds. 2014, we collected just over $400,000 in local government funds. And don't expect it to get better. It used to be 6% of our total pie, it's now 3%. Casino revenue has helped fill that void though. It's not something that I would say is safe to rely upon at this particular time, but we are seeing increases from when we first started receiving monies, which was about $120,000. We collected over $500,000 of the casino revenue dollars for 2014. This is the slide, and everybody has the same story. It's not unique to Auglaize County. I'm somewhat juvenile, so I have to put the frowning. I always call him a smiley face guy. I don't know, a frowning face guy. Used to be 5% of our pie. Less than 1%. And if we look at 2008, there's that difference. It was estimated that we were going to bring in $1.1 million in 2008, because in 2007 we brought in $1.2 million. We only collected $700,000, and that's the lift that would be needed to have that balance in 2008. 2014 we were under $90,000. Hopefully things will change. The conveyance fee, which is on real estate transfers, is 3% of the total. $2 of the 3 go to the GIS. And if you've never had a chance to get on our website and go to the GIS application that we have, I would invite you to do so. I know a lot of real estate agents use it. Insurance agents. It's a really valuable tool. We use it in our office, soil and water engineer. It's just a great resource. 2 of those dollars are dedicated for that application. And it's not something that you can say, okay, we got to where we want to be, we don't have to worry about it. GIS is ever evolving, and there's so many layers that aren't even thought of, but 3 years from now, we'll have. So a very great resource that we do have. 2015 appropriations. This is the first time that we ever exceeded $16 million in appropriations. Has absolutely nothing to do with Erica for the first time being the county administrator who's responsible for the county budget. But there are some reasons that we did exceed that. I think we're at 15.9 for the previous year. So we've got a 5.4 increase from 2014. We lifted the salary line items by 2%. Again, remember that organizational chart that runs this way? We don't necessarily control all the other elected officials' pay. Not the elected officials' pay, their employees' pay. I got to throw this in. The General Assembly controls elected officials' pay, and they've left us frozen since 2007. I have to throw that in. We infuse money into the elected officials' salary line item. We did it by 2%. We've done that for the last couple of years. They can determine if they want to give that full 2% to their employees or not. They just have that infused. So if they were at $1 million of their line item, it's going to increase by 2%. They figure out how it gets distributed there. We pre-funded an employee flexible spending account. We've always had the flexible spending account, but this year, Don, John, and I decided, we're talking with our the vendor, that there's a credit card that we could put everybody on, and when they need to make an HSA or an FSA expense or transaction, they just swipe the credit card. It's very simple. And you just use it, so if I go to the pharmacy, I swipe it, it deducts from that credit card. The only thing that we had to do differently implementing this system was we had to upfront all of the money. The employee reimburses it through the 26 pays that we have through the year. So we had to infuse a couple $100,000 to have that upload, because theoretically everybody could go swipe their cards in the month of January, and that money would be gone, and that would be reimbursed throughout the rest of the year. So that's one of the reasons that we had the increase that we've never seen before. Health insurance, we made a change with providers this year. We had a decent year last year, which only resulted in a 1.8% increase, and we're happy with that, and I hope things can definitely continue on the right path with the new vendor that we do have. Purchased 5 additional vehicles. Those all haven't been purchased yet, but that was appropriated. We did add a part-time technology position, going back to technology and ever evolving. Each elected official has different software applications. The 2 guys that we have are fantastic, just running rampant, trying to keep up with everything. We agreed to just a part-time, and it's almost like a help desk person. Our 2 guys get called from the 911 systems down to, I can't get my printer to work. And they go over there and find that the printer's unplugged. So this part-time person is that help desk type person, not really so concerned about the network, the backbone of the IT infrastructure, taking care of those smaller but vitally as important needs. Special revenue appropriations, just a list, not exhaustive of everything that falls under the special revenue fund, from MVGT, Doug Reinhardt, to solid waste, dog and kennel, Auglaize Acres, Job and Family Service, the Board of DD falls under there, a salary reserve for when we have our retirees that we have a severance payout from the general revenue fund to pay them their accumulated sick time and vacation time, sewer districts, ditches, etc. So that makes up all the special revenue fund. So $55 million total revenue. Projects and accomplishments, we've continued to buy into hometown opportunities. We want to be talking about the brain retain instead of the brain drain, working with Mercer County. And this is definitely a way that we can help out. There's so much more to do, but this has been a vital tool of not only trying to bring people back that have left, but also making certain that our high schoolers know that there are career opportunities here. You don't have to leave. Make that exodus and leave us behind here in Auglaize County. 2014, the failing sewer pipes, that was 20% of the footprint. We've got 80%. We're trying to get that figured out exactly how we're going to repair it for 2015. Technology, we put $200,000 into hardware upgrades, servers, switches, firewalls. I don't even know what the hell that means, but that's what the IT guy said we did. And we're still continuing to do that. So we've got to continue to invest in that ever-evolving technology. We're very proud. Don, John, and Hugh were pioneers in IT when the admin building was constructed and getting a full-time IT manager that governed the entire county. A lot of counties, it's silos. We've got one IT system, and we were way ahead of the game, and we want to make certain that we continue to be ahead of the game. Major accomplishments last year. We kind of had an exodus of department heads, and we had to replace Sean Stroh, left for GE back down in Cincinnati, where he was going to, where he went to school. So we replaced our airport manager with Matt Bailey. Nursing home administrator Connie Pierce had retired, and Kim Sudoff, who was the business manager for 8 to 10 years, was working to get her nursing home license. She's seamlessly stepped into that role, and Auglaize Acres is doing pretty well. We've got some staffing level issues that is systemic right now throughout that institution, but we're quite pleased how things are progressing at Auglaize Acres. Dave Reichelderfer retired at the end of the year, and we replaced him with Scott Sisko. Scott is that guy right there. And Scott is doing a remarkable job in the few months that he's been on board as the solid waste director, and expecting great things coming from him. And our county administrator, we were very fortunate that Erica was one of those individuals that wanted to return home. And great skill set, very intelligent, extremely dedicated, very hardworking. Is that everything you wanted me to say? Thought so. We are very, very pleased that she is on our team. I like to tell people she's not very good, so nobody really wants to come after her. But she is, Auglaize County be pleased that you have Erica Preston working for you. And that's very sincere, which is tough for me to be sincere too. Goals for 2015, technology upgrades. Again, I alluded to that a little earlier. The third phase of our powerhouse. Over the last 3 years, we've been doing work on the powerhouse in phases. Last year, as the picture indicates, we were working on the smokestack. We did some tuck pointing on that. The capstone was loose. We actually took that off. They reworked that and then put it back on. There's just some additional masonry work that has to be done. So this summer you'll see a little more work on the powerhouse, and we'll be done with that. That building is important because it houses the HVAC system for the courthouse. Expand courthouse parking lot. You've seen a stone lot directly to the east of the courthouse. We tore the house down that we purchased last year, maybe the year before we purchased it, and we tore the house down last year. We're going to get a crosswalk put in, and then we will get that paved and hopefully that's within the next couple of months, so expanding the parking area there. Records. I just did an interview for the Ohio Channel on Tuesday about our courthouse, and they want to know a little bit of the history. And one of the reasons that the original courthouse was no longer resourceful as a courthouse, and we needed the one that we currently have, was because Auglaize County was progressing so much and public records were overflowing. We still have those same public records. We still have more, albeit we're starting to go more electronically as possible. So back scanning of these documents. The court, juvenile probation, domestic relation court, and the corporate courts are doing a little bit of this on their own. We're actually looking at a vendor to take away our records in phases to get them back scanned, easily retrievable, so they would be indexed, one quick search word, we could find what we're after, and we would have those records easily accessible at our fingertips. Airport utility, this thing's been going on for 10, 12 years. The terminal building project, kind of the gateway in Auglaize County for those corporations and people that fly in. And hopefully we're going to have the area annexed so that we can get Village and Knoxville water and sewer ran, and that we will be able to start construction. We are waiting on the FAA. It's a 90-10 grant for everything that they'll cover. They're not 100% excited about terminal building projects, but we're working with them and seeing if we can come up with additional funds to get that project finally started and completed, hopefully in 2016. Talked about the sewer lines at the LEC. The chiller is going bad there as well. So we've got do we repair that 17-year-old chiller or do we put in new? Courthouse lightning. Last year the courthouse got struck twice. 30-some thousand dollars of damage covered by insurance minus the deductible. Found out that we probably need to extend our lightning rod to a higher level than what it currently is. So we'll be going out for bids on that. Erica, one of the things that she's charged with on her long-term goals list is to come up with Board of County Commissioners' annual report. And so in 2016, much like what Doug Reinhardt does with his annual report, you should see coming from ours. And there's the last piece of the puzzle that I really wanted to talk about, which I foreshadowed earlier. April 1st, of all days, April 1st, 2016, the 0.5% sales tax that's not permanent expires. 10 years prior, it was renewed from the 1996 vote that allowed for the construction of the law enforcement center. It was renewed. We are working to get that renewed as well. As you saw in the previous slides, that is our bread and butter in order for the countywide services that we've all known to come and expect, and we know that we need to continue on to make Auglaize County that great past, greater future. We desperately need to have that renewed for another 10-year period, and so the decision hasn't been finalized, but I think we're going to be looking to put it on the November ballot for 2015, which would allow us to seamlessly continue on with collections at the expiration of this current one. That's the Auglaize County status, and glad to report that things are going very well. We've got a very storied and great past, and we look to have a continued successful future, and we know it's going to be just as great or better than what we've known in the past. Thank you so much.
All right, well, I'd like to invite our last speaker, Superintendent of Wapakoneta City Schools, Keith Horner, who has a tremendous job protecting and educating our future, including one young man that I'm very fond of, who's going to be a real handful for Keith. So please help me welcome Mr. Keith Horner.
Thank you very much. It is always nice to be here. I'll tell you that I'd like to also thank the Chamber and the sponsors for sponsoring this event. This is very nice. We have some general, very basic stats, no real storyline with respect to what we're going to talk about. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I will tell you that Doug was a trained social studies teacher. I was a trained social studies teacher. And I'm probably a little older than Doug, so you get a handout, not a PowerPoint. Now I'm sense a little competitiveness. I'm a little embarrassed now. I might have to up my game next year. So it's been an interesting year and really 2 years, and actually just education in general is really interesting. I have on the very front, I have a few years ago, the state, I have our report card results. A few years ago, the state came out and said, you know what, we're going to revamp the report card, which, by the way, they're always revamping the report card. So we're going to revamp the report card completely. You're going to get grades and not percentages. You're not going to get a rating, which is like excellent. I think we had proficient or something like that. And we had no idea what it would truly look like. I mean, they were putting things out. We didn't necessarily know what the measures were. So in 12-13, you can see our report card, if you go down. And that stayed relatively in the same conceptual form for the next year. And you can see that in 13-14, after we were able to get a look at the thing, which is what it always happens in education, they throw something at you, then you start adjusting. We were able to also make some improvements on that report card. So we're very happy about that. Then you can see in 15-16, which kind of brings us to the kind of the highlight of what everybody's talked about all year in education, and that is the multiple testing implications that we've had with park testing. So what the state did was said, you're going to be tested, and we're going to contract with PARC, which is the Partnership for Readiness, some of these PARCC, if you wanted to look it up. And to be honest with you, they're a giant organization. They're working with 14 states that have signed on to PARC. Well, at the same time, they've said, Ohio, high schools, we're going to do end of course exams, which actually I think is probably a good idea educationally. It's like a big final. So we're going to do end of course exams, and we're going to make you do those, and we're going to make that part of our graduation requirements. And you're going to, for much of your testing, you're going to work with PARC. For the other part of your testing, you're going to work with a company called AIR, A-I-R. So we have two vendors that we're working with. Both of them work completely independently and not very similar. So I always say, people ask me, well, what's the big deal about all the testing? Well, when you have this, when you're testing in such a formal format, you're doing standardized testing, it is not just putting kids in a room and saying, giving them handouts. It is very, very extensive. Probably more extensive is the planning for it. And it's also very disruptive. So when you have a grade level that is used to, having 45 minutes at a pop for whatever they're doing, and then they move on to whatever the next subject is, now we're going to say, you know what, we gotta give them a test for an hour and a half or so, whatever it might be. But you're going to do the whole grade level. So what do you do if there's a schedule for those guys all the time. So what do you do with the rest of the building? So my point is, from a functional standpoint, having tests, and this is what we had, from February to May, somewhere in our district, is not necessarily a realistic goal for us. So the good news about all of this, and they also we had computer tests, we had paper pencil tests, you had two vendors. So it's been trial by fire. I'll give you a quick story. Mark Savaggio, poor Mark, if you know him, he is actually our district test coordinator, which is a gigantic job right now, and this year in particular. And he would talk about getting tests. He goes, Keith, I got to run to Waynesville. Why? He goes, well, they got some of our tests, we got some of their tests. Okay, I can see that. Well, one time I think he got 2 boxes of tests for a Texas school that were all in Braille. I mean, those are the kind of things that, you know, you expect the materials to come and you open them up and it throws, you know, it's not just a quick fix with respect to this. So it's a very difficult dilemma. Now, the good news in my mind is a couple different things. One is this is spotlighted testing for the general public and parents in particular, because I think that in general, we are a lot more than test. We simply are. We provide hopefully we provide a lot more value than test in this report card. Because while this is all nice, what you really want to know is, well, how did we treat your kid? How did your kid react in school? Or how were they treated, or how were they educated in school? And those are the things that we want to try to emphasize, is how our parents in our community respond to us, not necessarily what the state says. So that's been a good thing, because that's highlighted. We don't get near as much criticism for the test. And I put not relevant 15, 16 because I'm not viewing them as relevant yet. I'm simply not. I don't know what it's going to look like. We might get poor. Actually, they've said, prepare your communities for poor grades. Okay. I'm saying it's not relevant at this time. So we need to give this some time. Now, the legislators also, another additional good point, the legislators have listened, and we do expect some significant changes for the testing. We have had probably about 40 parents opt their children out of testing. Officially, there's no opt-out. We have to give the test. That's our legal obligation. We also can't make a kid take the test. You know, we're not going to do that. So, and the reality is that doesn't have a whole lot of impact, because the legislators were hearing from parents. They built in some safe harbor provisions. Unless you are a freshman in high school, because some of those end-of-course tests you're going to need for your graduation requirements. So, and I think we had one child who opted out of those tests. So that's kind of the testing scenario that we have. We can turn it over and talk, and I'll jump to finances, even though financially, you know, there's no question we've been down some really difficult times. And I talked to this group last year at this event that we were in the bottom 7% in the state of Ohio of per pupil expenditures of all public school districts. And I think I made the comment because my standard line was, I don't know whether to be proud of that or ashamed of that. But I can tell you we won't stay there, because we are going to start doing what we think our kids, giving our kids what they deserve a little bit more with respect to some offerings and some programming and some of the needs that we see that we have. And primarily we can do that because we're going to be a little bit different position financially. So you can see that in 09, which was started kind of that red trend of fiscal year 09, we simply just went through a very difficult time. And during that entire time we were cutting. You can see from fiscal year 11 to fiscal year 13, we cut $2 million out of our budget in some way. But you also saw that in the 11-12 school year, we were talking really privately among the Board of Education that if things don't turn around, we're going to have to ask for community for money. And you can see that in 12-13, or 11 fiscal year 13, we finished at $124,000 in black, which is really a small amount in percentage-wise of our budget. But what that did do is that bought us another year to say, okay, we're not at least going to have to ask for money this year. So that bought us a year. Now, we would have had a number like we had in the previous years, we would probably be saying a different story. But the state got a little healthier. We obviously tightened our belts, and we ended up with $2 million in excess revenue last year, which was obviously very positive. We expect that number to be $3 million this year. And obviously we're, again, building up our reserves, so hopefully we can withstand the next financial crisis, whatever it might be. Hopefully it's not for a while. I have on there also just some general statistics, but I want to talk about, we do have some initiatives this year that I think are just interesting, or not interesting, but good that I'd like to highlight. One is, and this is very small, but it's just an example of us trying to find a niche for our kids. That's why I say when we try to provide, our vision is to provide excellent learning experiences for our children. That's trying to find a way for them to connect to school. So we have a teacher with a theater background, and we offered a drama class for the first time. One drama class, they did one production, very small, and we'll continue to do that. So that's a nice thing for our kids who are involved in that we did not offer. Another item that we're actually very proud of is we are offering, if you have a college-bound student, we're offering ACT prep now at school. And I can tell you that it's accounted, the early stats, which we're waiting for the end of the year stuff, but the early stats where it increased, the kids who took the course increased by about 2.9 points. That's a nice increase. And when you're talking about a difference between maybe, not my score, but some of our kids' score, a 29 or a 32, you're talking to the significance of adding some money to their, being at least eligible for some more money. So that's been a very nice thing. This year also, and this has been very time intensive in addition to the testing, which is what individuals don't see, and this is all lays on my principal's shoulders, a new teacher evaluation system, which to be very honest, was a very effective system. So we have no complaints about the system other than it is extremely time intensive, and that will get better. So first year, as we had implemented this year, was our first year of implementation, which meant every teacher had to go through the full cycle. Which again, this is their job, but it is just very, very time intensive. And as I say, when we have principals who are trying to schedule an evaluation, and they do a lot of legwork or prep work prior to that evaluation, and they're ready to go in the classroom, and you have a kid you have a fight, you have a mad parent, you have a kid have a seizure or health issue, you stop, and you have to go and start that entire process over with respect to that evaluation. So it's been a good process though, and it will get better. So we're actually happy that I think that will make us better in general as we move forward. Highlight, I talked about the drama program a little bit, but athletically, I think we're talking 1991 since we've had such a great year athletically, collectively. Unless Brad Rex says, unless we all fall down at our track meets, which are going on today and yesterday and this weekend, he goes, we should win this all sports award that the WBL does. It's for the first time since I think 91. So that's really, really nice. It's nice to have that success. I'll tell you, again, just like school does a lot more than just represent test scores, athletics are a lot more than winning and losing as well. So, but it's nice to win. We're really excited about a couple things next year. One is actually a legal mandate. If you've heard of post-secondary options, which many of you have, that is being revamped and renamed by the state of Ohio to something called College Credit Plus. For the purposes of parents, it really will not have a dramatic difference other than they are trying to offer it to a lot younger students, which it has some, philosophically I have some, it's good and it's bad, but they are trying to do that. So you will hear probably more about that in the future as we move on. And I think that we've had more kids sign up to participate in that than we have in the past as well. For some kids, that's a really positive option. The other thing is we had a retirement of Karen Semple. Karen Semple has done an outstanding job for a number of years. If you've had kids go through the school district, you made the bears, you sewed the bears. If you remember that, right. So she's retiring. We were trying to determine whether to place her with the same program or something else. So we decided to move in a different direction. And she taught all 8th grade students in addition to a couple high school classes, but all 8th grade students had to. And so now we will offer an engineering class to all 8th grade students as they go through. We got a young man out of Ohio Northern, fresh out of school, so we'll learn along the way with respect to that program. And we're doing what they call Project Lead the Way, which is the module-based system that kids will be exposed to various things. And we hope that he will be able to offer it if his schedule permits, and that really depends on the size of the 8th grade class. If his schedule permits some electives at the higher levels for engineering as well. So we're really excited about that as well. I do want to just highlight some what I call old highlights, which are we work extremely well with the Wapakoneta Police Department on school safety. They are dedicated, we are dedicated, and again, I believe I said the same thing, we go into the premise that it can happen here today, not that it won't happen here. Monday, we are having a mock evacuation of our middle school, which has required a lot of planning that they have been dedicated to. So I want to thank the police for that. And then just in terms of programs, you know, I always want to highlight our FFA, which people think of as farming, and that's certainly a component of it. But when we have an FFA like ours, and FFA in general, they focus a lot on what I call the life skills that everybody believes our students might be lacking. Public speaking, Randy, would you agree? Public speaking, just leadership skills in general, your general mechanical skills. They'll build walls, they'll build trailers, they'll do that. And the thing that I love about Ron and Chris Turner and FFA in general is they'll have the kid in there who might really struggle in school, and they'll have the kid who's the top 5 in the class in that same classroom, working with them, doing the same stuff. So it's really powerful. So I'm always wanting to highlight that as well. The final thing that I want to talk about really is just facility-wise. We are in a good position, obviously. If you're in the school business and you've had a project like we had, which we built, I think this might be year 5 in our buildings, after our renovations. We've not closed out our project with the state of Ohio. That's actually pretty common. We're fighting over a few things, mostly just efficiencies that we're really working hard on to get our cost per square foot down. And then the other big item with respect to the project is our high school flooring. Is the original high school flooring in that building that we wanted to have on the list to be replaced originally. We've yet to, obviously that hasn't happened. So we're still fighting that battle as well. And you know, they don't tell us no, it's just a slow process. When you're not in construction, it's hard to get their attention. So, but it is moving along very slowly. And then finally, we do intend to add restroom/storage facility just to the south of the softball field. If you know, there's just porta johns out there for our folks, and that, you know, our facilities get used a ton. And we thought that that would be something that was necessary for a couple different components. So, going back to your handout, I just had some stats there. Couple that I'd like to highlight. One is preschool. We offered this is year 2, I think, in preschool. We offered busing for the first time, and that's been a really positive program for us as well. Really happy to get those kids in, and gosh, they're cute to the visit, I will tell you. So we love having them. Summer school will operate again, and which has done that. We did that last year for the first time, which we will bus kids as well. And you can see that I have on there, in the last 3 years, an estimated 20% of staff is retired. That's pretty good turnover in the school business. That's primarily due to the state teachers' retirement system making some changes. So, you know, we've had a lot of changes. The faces are very different at our school than what probably when many of you are running the halls. With that, I'm going to close. I want to thank everyone, and I'll answer any questions.
Any questions for Keith?
Last year you mentioned the possibility of all-day preschool for 4-year-olds. Is that still on the agenda for some time in the future?
Good question. And this brings it back to the building issue as well. When you do an OSFC project, they say, here's where your enrollment's going to be in 10 years. Well, you can see our enrollment is steady. They projected we would have a decrease. We'd be down to 2,800 kids at this time. That was what they projected, or some number like that. So we went back to them. That was one of the things we were hoping we could maybe get them to fund some additional square footage, because with respect to that program, it's a space issue, believe it or not. So we have not decreased in size and enrollment like the state predicted, but you won't get additional funding unless you're 15% over your projections, and we're like at 8% right now. So the long answer to your question is, if we had space, we would be doing that. Right now, we do not have the space for that.
Any other questions for Superintendent Werner? Thank you, Keith. Thank you. Again, I hope you have enjoyed this program and hearing from the city, the county, and the schools. The Chamber would like to again thank all of the sponsors that helped make this possible. And I did not previously mention the VFW for the use of this hall and for the fine lunch that we've enjoyed. And also Miller's Textile volunteered to provide linens. There was a little hiccup in the linens that were provided, but the intent was there. So thank you to Miller's for stepping up as they always do for the Chamber. Thank you very much for coming today. Josh has asked that as you exit, if you would, please take one of these display racks of the WAPOC brochures back to your place of business and put those out so people that come in and patronize your business can learn about other things that our county, community, and our schools have to offer. Thank you very much for attending today.